Okay, so this is my second video, and I am going to try and spend a few minutes talking about some things that you may be able to do in your free time, if you're at home, if you're hunkering down, if you're feeling isolated. There are things you can do online and offline. There are things you can do just for fun, to pass the time, to just keep your brain stimulated and, kind of be in oh, I'm going to just do this today because at some point the sun will go down, I'll go to bed, and I need to just get through the day. So there are different topics I'm going to cover. One is stuff to just keep your mind busy, get you through the day, things that are like not, that don't require work, let's say, but just more physically passive, but where your brain can be engaged. And then the other things I'm going to touch on are the ways you can do service without leaving your home. And another idea I had actually while I was making my first video is physical things you can do at home which will help you just de-stress and give some structure to your day. So as I mentioned in my first video, I have been contending with an illness known as myalgic encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue syndrome, for, well, acutely and very badly since 2006. So, anyway, so I, the thing with this illness that my life had been presented with so many years ago, and which really changed my life so dramatically, and just like this event with this virus is changing many lives, I had to find ways to cope. And as the years progressed, I found new ways to cope. Now, one thing I'll say right off the bat is we're very lucky to have social media, and we're very lucky that we have like video calls, and because isolation is a problem, and you don't want to like be in your head too much. Now, the social media issue, it's a double-edged sword because for me, I know like I tend to like kind of glom onto the bad news, but I also burn out from it, and I've burned out from it now. And I do post things about the virus and whatever like world events might be going on, but then I kind of burn out, and I know I need to take a step back. So I feel like social media can be very beneficial right now, but I think it's also you need to take into account your own stress level, how the news could be affecting you emotionally, which will then affect you physically and physiologically. And so, like, sometimes when I go on to Facebook, let's say, I will just go straight to Messenger and not even look at the timeline. I'll just go to Messenger so I can call a friend or chat with a friend, that kind of thing. And I'm not saying don't ever look at your timeline, but there are ways to sort of use social media so your eyeball is not going directly on like terrifying news or news about the economy. I think it's good to stay informed, but it's been a tidal wave as it is. So my suggestion is, like, if you go onto Facebook, maybe just like go to Messenger first and just check up on some friends and say, hey, how you doing? Do you want to do a video call, or do you just want to do some chatting, or do you want to play words with friends? Just something like that, instead of just to take a break. That's all I'm suggesting. So speaking of Facebook and social media, there are games on there, so this is a strategy to just give your brain something to do where you're physically passive, but your mind is engaged with something. So there are games. I am a big fan of a word game called Lexilus. It's like Scrabble. It's a little different. There's like 4 dictionaries you can choose. There's American English, UK English, there's French and Italian. So, you could try playing Lexilus in 4 different languages. It might be fun, it might be challenging, you might get your ass kicked. There are people on there who do want to engage in certain types of chat, so it's just, you got to watch out for that if you're not into that kind of thing. I'm just checking the time because I don't want to make this first one way too long. And there was also another Scrabble-like game called, I think it's called Angry Words, and that has also a number of different dictionaries, English, German, French, Spanish, I think Catalan. I don't know what else, maybe Italian, but I definitely know Catalan was in there when I used to play that. I sometimes choose to play really, I call them mindless games, like Mahjong on Facebook. And when I play Mahjong, I am usually doing something else, like listening to something. So, and I don't use a phone, I use a laptop. I don't even own a smartphone. So what I do is when I'm playing Mahjong, I might listen to an audiobook that I've downloaded. If you're into radio shows, you can listen to a radio show while you're playing Mahjong. Something where, for me, it's my intellect would be kind of engaged and my eyes are engaged and I'm playing a game. Now, I do that because I have lost stamina to do art, and normally if I wanted to do something where my brain was engaged, when I was well, I would have chosen to do something artsy, craftsy, but the illness I have has sort of inhibited that ability for some reason. So, and then there's Candy Crush and I think Bejeweled Blitz. So what I do is I turn the sound effects off so I can listen to an audiobook or some music and play some mindless games. And that is something I do when I'm overtired but I can't really turn my brain off. So that's a suggestion. If you have a library card, which I hope you do, you can download audiobooks to your computer or your device and listen. BBC has really a wide variety of radio shows. Some of the ones I have enjoyed is one called Living World, and what it is the interviewer goes out with somebody who's a naturalist or a biologist or ecologist, and they go out and they go into the field and they record it while they're all out, like when they're traipsing around, and then they'll record the sound of the animals, or you can hear them like inspecting the area where the birds are gathering. And sometimes they'll go to a different country. Like one episode, which is one of my favorites, they're actually in Algonquin Park for the wolf howling. And but the BBC, and it's usually on Radio 4 or Radio 4 Extra, which is available online. They have like so many radio shows. So like on different topics and different stories and like dramas. And you can also find some on YouTube. Like some people have recorded old BBC radio shows and they've uploaded them to YouTube. So you can play a mindless game or knit or draw or do an adult coloring book, and you can listen to like some pretty cool things. So that is one idea, and this video has been very long and I need to take a break because my throat's actually starting to hurt, which is a little bit about, you know, part of what I have to deal with having dealing with ME/CFS. There's so much you can do online, and there's so much you can do offline. I personally, if you're able, I personally would encourage, like, if there's something around your home, like an art project or a cleaning project or a decluttering project, you can listen to a radio show or an audiobook while you're doing that. And it might make the situation more bearable. And you can also just make a cup of tea or coffee and just, you know, if you have some trees outside your window you can look at, you can just like sip your tea or coffee and just like, you know, look at your trees for a few minutes. There are a lot of people who don't have trees out their window, and, you know, it sounds mundane, it sounds trite, but the trick is finding the little thing that you would normally every day say, oh yeah, that's just there, and say, look at that, like look at that tree and say, wow, thank you, I'm so glad I have a tree out my window. So you can do that while you're listening to a radio show or an audiobook, and I have more ideas. I have a lot of ideas, so I will have another video after I've rested from doing this one a bit. So I hope this has helped. I will just say you are equipped to get through this. You will get through this. I've gotten through isolation for 13 or more years. It's not fun. It's not easy. It's actually pretty sucky, but you can get through it. I have, and I do, and I know you can as well. So I will see you at the next video. Take good care.